Nii, aitäh rääkimast toiduturismist, toidukultuurist, koostööprojektidest. Ülle Jukk ja Tiina Kuuler. Järgmiseks räägime piimapulbrite saladustest ja Vasikate söötmisest. Meiega on Baltic Agro mineraalsöötade ostujuht Katerina Reiska ja piimapulbritootja Nutrifeed esindaja Eestis Fokke Komrij. Palun.
Tervist kõigile ja minu nimi on Katerina, nagu siin juba tutvustati ja ma olen loomasöötade tootejuht Baltic Agros ja täna räägime lühidalt kõige tähtsamatest komponentidest vasikakasvatusest ehk siis piimapulbritest. Ja selleks on siin minuga Hollandi piimapulbritehase Nutrifeedi ekspordijuht Fokke. Thank you, Fokke, for joining us here tonight. And,
thanks for the invitation.
Yeah. That's nice. This is one of the biggest agricultural events for Estonian farmers. So it's very nice to be here today.
Thank you.
But we had yesterday two calf milk replacer making workshops where we had a lot of participations. And we made some different calf milk replacers. So what was the main goal of yesterday's workshop?
Let me tell first what we did yesterday. We in a calf milk replacer there goes different type of raw materials. So we selected 10 raw materials that goes into a milk replacer. These 10 raw materials were placed on the table, and every participant could check what kind of raw material it is. They were all dry raw materials. After checking the raw materials, they had to formulate a calf milk replacer, whereas every raw materials can go into a certain amount into the calf milk replacer. After doing the calculation, based on the nutrients, protein, fat, energy, there is a consequence, a price of the product. And at the end, if they had formulated the product on paper, the calf milk replacer, they could prepare the milk replacer by adding the water to the mixture they made.
Yep, and it was very practical workshop. They could all taste different raw materials and smell them and see how they dissolve in water, in hot water, in a little bit colder water. So that was very practical insight of what actually happening in the farms, basically every day. And I think that they could see different consequences. But if we're talking about the recipes and different recipes, as yesterday we found out that in Nutrifeed you have more than 1,500 different recipes for calf milk replacers. Mm-hmm. So what is the big difference in different recipes?
If you talk about the different types of recipes, first you can talk about protein levels. Protein levels goes from 21 up to 25%. You can talk about fat levels. They go also from, let's say, 16% up to 21%. That's only the contents. Then you can go to the raw materials. If you want to make a separation between the two main products in the market, so you are talking about the products with skim milk powder on one hand, and on the other hand, the whey-based products. In some countries, in this case like Denmark, they only want to have a product with 60% skim. And a lot of cases there is the question why. It is just, in my opinion, a religion. As I have said, Sometimes it's more easy to change a Muslim to a Protestant religion than take away then change the 60% of skim milk product and lower the skim milk amount to 50% in Denmark, for example.
Yes, but then again, if it's a nice product and it works and the result is satisfying, so why change it?
Yeah, but then the next subject is if sometimes you can make the product a little bit cheaper by changing the amount of skim. And then you have also two possibilities. You go to an all dairy product, or you change a part of the dairy product with vegetable protein.
Yep.
And that's another subject. Sometimes farmers do not like vegetable protein, whereas we think, based on extensive research, that a certain amount of vegetable protein is not, per definition, bad for the calf. However, it gives the milk other properties. Let's say you add a certain amount of protein concentrate. Is it bad for the calf? No. However, if you put it in a bucket, after maybe 1 hour, it drops out a little bit.
Yep.
And if the farmer doesn't expect it, then you get a complaint.
Yep.
On one hand. On the other hand, if you look to some feeding systems, like an automatic feeder, the milk is prepared and goes directly into the calf. So separation of milk is not an issue. So in this kind of system, you can easily use a certain amount of vegetable protein.
Yeah, and yesterday we also saw in the jars that after they were sitting around on the table for a little bit longer period, then we saw some separation also. But then again, you shake it, and then again it's a homogeneous milk replacer. So if the calf drinks it right away, then it doesn't matter if it separates in the bucket or not. It probably won't even have enough time for separating in the bucket.
That's correct.
But if we are talking price-wise, then is it so that the expensive product is always better and the cheaper one is always worse?
We can answer that question in different ways. But let's say if you make a more expensive product by increasing the level of protein and fat, how more concentrated you make a product, how more expensive, because there is less and less room for formulating different raw materials. That's one. Now, then the question is, why do some people want to have a high level of protein, high level of fat? It's mentioned the calf can grow faster. However, whereas in a normal situation, we advise 125 grams powder and 1 liter of ready milk. But instead of 125 grams of powder, you can go a higher level of powder in this liter milk. And that means that you don't need to increase this level of protein and fat to a high level. Because at the end of the day, it is how much protein energy you can get in the calf. So the level of protein and fat in the product itself is not limiting. There are other ways to get more protein and fat in the calf.
So it depends a lot on the feeding schedules in the farm, and then again, if for example we feed very strongly milk replacer with 60% of skim, for example, and the calves get it a lot in the day, 10 to 12 liters per day. Is it so that maybe they will start eating compound feed also a little bit later? Or?
Yeah, there are different aspects. You mentioned already if you have, let's say this as follows. Feeding schedule is very important. Mm-hmm. And we have different types of feeding schedules. An easy way is, of course, an automatic feeder. What is an automatic feeder? It gives the milk every 2-3 hours a certain amount. If you want to give the calf only by a bucket, then the amount is limited till a certain amount, let's say 3 liter, or even a little bit more or a little bit less. However, if you go higher in one amount at a certain time, you have more chance of diarrhea. So in that case, with bucket feeding, the amount of liters are limited. And in that case, we say we go to a higher increase of powder in 1 liter of ready milk.
Yep.
Then you can give more. That being said, if you go to a higher amount of milk powder in 1 liter of milk, you need to add also water during the day, because the calf needs for the digestion
Yeah.
extra water, and we advise also the electrolytes.
Of course, of course. And what are you trying to say is, I think that no matter how good or bad recipe is, it's all comes up to management and the hygiene and feeding schedule. So we can make as good recipe as humanly possible. If you feed it at wrong temperature, or you don't follow the mixing rules, or you are not following the feeding schedule, then you won't get that result. Do you have some more comments on the management?
Now, first of all, what you mentioned is correct. Punt. Yeah. No, even if you make a very good calf milk replacer, which is our business, a lot of things can go wrong. It starts already with the preparation of the milk. First, they need to take, if you prepare it in if you adjust the milk in a bucket. So first, you take the amount of water, half what you wish,
Yep.
Around 50 degrees. Then you add in the powder, based on the amount of grams of powder you want to have in a liter of milk. You mix it 2-3 minutes, and then you add the rest of the water, whereas the drinking temperature at the end of the day should be around 42 degrees. So you mix it with 50 degrees,
And then,
the 50 degrees water, add the powder, and then you add the remaining water. And then you have the milk ready. And then the next step is, of course, the feeding schedule, which is very important. And there we have different types, but I will not go into that one now because it's the limited of the time. Huh? So you want me to speak a little bit longer, I guess, no?
No, it's okay. I think the main issue also is with the workers who work with calves, and it's very important to get them to realize how important it is to always feed by exact schedule with the exact additional rates of milk powder, and this is the main job that has manager to do with the workers.
Yeah, if we talk about feeding schedules from the past, we have different steps, 2 or 3 steps, with increasing amount of milk per feeding. However, in some countries you have bigger farms, like in the USA, in the eastern part of Germany, and there you have a lot of different workers that gives the milk to the calves. And in that kind of countries, we work with we call it an easy schedule, whereas we don't have this 2 or 3 steps in the amount, but we are feeding a certain amount for a longer period with an increased amount of powder in 1 liter of milk. So also for the bigger farms, we can make it more easy.
So it's not only about the calf milk replacer itself, or the recipe, or the different raw materials that go inside. It's all about this one big period of calf rearing and growing them into healthy heifers or healthy bulls. So it's we have to see that period for one big step, not to take small things out of it, like a milk replacer separately, compound feed separately, management separately, but one whole.
Yeah, that's correct. Let's say it as follows: we have also a calf meat, calf meat integration. Means we are buying a lot of bull calves. And from the past, these bull calves were coming in our stables with 40 kilo. Sometimes the farmers, they have an idea the bull calves are not that important. We are focused on the heifers. However, if you are focusing not only on the heifers but also on the bull calves, with a certain management on the farm, you can increase the health, not only from the heifers but also from the bull calves. And that means we start with the milk replacer, but in fact we should go back to the colostrum. Because if the farmers forget the colostrum, then the bull calves at our fattening farms are not strong enough, and we need to use maybe some more additives. And if you give enough colostrum to the calves, then we get not a 40 kilo calf, what I mentioned before, but a 45 kilo calf. And that calf is much stronger, and then you don't need this much extras. So it starts with the colostrum.
Yeah. It all starts from the beginning.
It all starts from the beginning. Yeah, that's correct.
That's nice. Okay, I think we can wrap it up. And thank you, Fokke, for joining us here and for great feedback and pointing out all the important points. So we know that it's most important to see and invest in the calves and in a nice milk replacer.
Thanks.
Ja, thanks. Aitäh meie poolt kõigile, kes vaatasid ja kes kuulasid. Ja kui kellelgi on piimapulbrite või vasikakasvatusega seotud küsimusi, siis pöörduge Baltic Agro loomakasvatustiimi poole, kas siin messis või igapäevaelus samat moodi. Aitäh!